Good day, everyone. Today we will discuss the final component among the essential five macro skills, the viewing. So, the concept of multimodal literacy and the three levels of comprehension, the literal, inferential, and evaluative. Viewing refers to the active process of understanding and responding to multimodal text. At the basic level, viewing involves students noticing the different modes of communication used in the multimodal text and responding to them in an emotional level. So the main purpose of this lesson is to develop students' multimodal literacy by enabling them to analyze and interpret visual texts through the three levels of comprehension: the literal, inferential, and evaluative, to engage with diverse forms of communication in a visually rich world. What is multimodal literacy? Multimodal literacy, the purpose is to engage all students with all learning styles. So it means that two or more means or types of communication are being used and aims to utilize multiple senses or modalities during the learning process. So there are five different modes of multimodal literacy. First is the visual, what you can see. Example, viewing a painting, a photograph, or an illustration. The next one is the oral. It is related to listening. Example, listening to instrumental music. Next, the linguistic, using words. Example, watching a video with subtitles. Next, gestural, using the body or movement. Example, viewing sign language, body language, and the last one is the spatial. It is a physical layout. Example, reading a book. What is visual literacy? Visual literacy is understanding how people perceive objects, interpret what they see, and what they learn from them. It also refers to effectively using images to communicate meaning. Just as spoken and written language have receptive and expressive elements, so does the visual language. Next, what is visual knowledge? Visual knowledge refers to the representation of information in a visual format. So, visual knowledge means presenting information using pictures, charts, videos, or other visual tools to help people understand, remember, and make decisions more easily. Instead of just reading numbers or text, visual knowledge uses things like flowcharts, graphs, images, and interactive dashboards to turn complex data into clear and meaningful insights. This way, it becomes simpler to see patterns, relationships, and important points quickly. The need for a visual metalanguage. Access to visual metalanguage will enable students and teachers to accurately and consistently talk about how meaning is made in visual text. In the same way that we use a commonly understood grammar of language to talk about meaning making in written and spoken texts. This visual metalanguage is a system that helps us understand and talk about the important parts of visual images and how these parts relate to each other. It uses common rules and symbols that many people recognize because they come from shared cultural and social experiences. These rules and patterns have developed over time to help us make sense of visual designs and their purposes. Meta-language is language that describes language. Here's an example to show you what it means. When you're reading a text, you might notice that the author has employed language techniques to make the writing more powerful or engaging. Instead of simply saying he was sad, an author might write his chest ached with a hollow weight. While the meanings of these phrases are similar, the shift in wording paints a picture, sets a tone, and draws us into the character's inner world. When analyzing how an author does this, you use meta-language, terms like metaphor, tone, or imagery, to describe their writing. In short, meta-language helps you move beyond discussing what the writer says and into how they say it. General strategies for examining visual text. It is important to begin by examining the image as a whole. For each question, ask students to expand on their responses by explaining reasons why, and encourage them to use device from the image to justify their responses. The following sequence of questions provides a way to begin this discussion. So first question, where does this image came from? What is its purpose? Who is it for? What is it about? What do you think about it and why? How does it make you feel and why? What puzzles you? What does it remind you of? What connections can make to other texts and experiences? How do you think this text positioning the viewer or reader? What might be missing from this image? And why has the image maker chosen to show this image this way? How else might this be shown? What difference might this make? The LIE, or the close reading of an image using three levels of comprehension, which is the literal, the inferential, and the evaluative. A close analysis of how visual texts make meaning can be framed around three graduated levels. So this is approached as LIE, the literal, inferential, and evaluative comprehension. The first level of comprehension is the level 1, which is the literal. So it refers to locate, recall, connect. The next level of comprehension is the level 2, the inferential. It infer and interpret. And the last level of comprehension is the level 3, the evaluative or applied. Evaluate, generalize, hypothesize, synthesize, think critically, think creatively, and apply to other contexts. In this example picture, in level 1, the literal, which is to locate, recall, and connect. So, what do you see? Where did little sister drive her cars? When she was playing. So here, students search for the information within the picture. So the picture informs us that the cars were driven over the carpet and the kitchen floor, over the tables and chairs, and up the living wall room. It justifies that the answer is in the image. Justify the answers with evidence from the picture. The next example picture is in the level 2, the inferential. Um, Infer and interpret. So, based on the example, how do you think the girl is feeling? And what clues in the picture help you decide? Why might the girl be sitting alone on the bench? What season do you think it is, and how can you tell? What might have happened before this moment to make the girl look this way? How does the weather in the picture affect the mood of the scene? So, students use the literal information and combine it with other information from the image or context, and prior knowledge to make inference based on this information. The next example picture is on level 3, the evaluative or applied. So, a picture shows a boy flying a kite in a park on a sunny day. The kite is bright red with yellow stripes, and the boy is smiling. There are green trees and a blue sky with a few white clouds. What do you think about the boy's activity of flying a kite? How might this activity benefit him physically, emotionally, or socially? Can you think the other activities that offer similar benefits? Imagine the boy is teaching a younger child how to fly a kite. How would you explain the steps and safety tips? How could the experience of flying a kite be different if the weather were rainy or windy? How would that change the boy's feeling or action? If you were to design a new kite for the boy, what colors or patterns would you choose and why? How might your design affect the kite's flight or the boy's enjoyment? How does flying a kite connect to other outdoor activities? Can you create a plan for a day of fun outdoor activities that includes kite flying? These questions encourage students to evaluate, generalize, hypothesize, synthesize, think critically and creatively, and apply their understanding to new contexts beyond just describing the picture. For this context, working with images and the visual semiotic mode, these three meaning functions are described as expressing and developing ideas in images. Who, what, where, when, Why? So first is the symbols. Symbols or signs can be used to as shortcuts to represent ideas or concepts. For example, in a park map, a tree icon. So, a tree icon is used to represent areas with lots of trees or a forested section. Instead of writing forest or trees, everyone on the map, the symbol quickly shows where the green wooded areas are. These symbols act as visual shortcuts that help people understand important ideas or places quickly and easily, relying on shared cultural meanings of the signs. The next one is the line. The line, it can be natural, formed by objects in the image, or artificial lines created by the author using subject gaze or pointing. So, for example, in a picture of a family picnic, the line of a sight of a little girl looking at a butterfly creates an invisible line that guides the viewer's attention from the girl's face to the butterfly. This natural line, formed by her gaze, helps connect the two subjects in the image. Additionally, the pathway winding through the park acts as a natural line formed by objects in the scene, leading the viewer's eyes deeper into the picture. Sometimes, an artist might draw an arrow or an artificial line pointing to a specific object like a picnic basket to highlight its importance. Lines, whether natural or like gaze or paths or artificial like arrows, it helps direct the viewer's attention and organize the visual elements in an image. Next is vectors. It shows action and direction in an image through lines. For example, in a picture of a soccer game, the player is kicking the ball, and you can see motion lines or vectors drawn behind the ball showing the direction and speed of the kick moving toward of the goal. These lines indicate the action and guide the viewer's eye along the ball's path. Similarly, the player's body posture, leaning forward with one leg extended, uh, it creates an implied vector pointing in the direction of the ball's movement, emphasizing the action. Vectors use lines or implied lines to show movement and direction in an image, helping viewers understand what is happening and where the action is going. Next is the size. Choices about size of objects in an image is a comparative process. So, for example, in a picture of a city street, a tall skyscraper is drawn much larger than the people walking nearby. The large size of the building compared to the small size of the people helps viewers understand that the building is very tall and imposing. Similarly, if a child is shown holding a toy car that appears almost as big as the child, the unusual size comparison might suggest the toy is very important or special to the child. Choices about the size of objects in an image are relative and help convey meaning. Larger objects often seem more important, closer, or more powerful, while smaller objects may seem less important or farther away. The second one is interacting and relating with others through the image. So first, the author. The author also makes visual design choices to express knowledge, skills, trustworthiness, power, and status, attitudes, feelings, and opinions. For example, a magazine cover features a famous athlete standing on a podium holding a gold medal. The athlete is shown in sharp focus, wearing bright, clean sportswear with a serious but proud expression. The background is blurred, emphasizing the athlete. The author's choice to focus sharply on the athlete highlights their importance and achievement. The serious expression conveys determination and dedication, suggesting the athlete's hard work and skill. The clean, bright sportswear symbolizes professionalism and excellence. The blurred background removes distractions, directing all attention to the athlete's success. Through these design choices, the author communicates respect and admiration for the athlete, encouraging viewers to feel inspired and to recognize the athlete's status and accomplishments. Next is the audience. So, choosing to position how the audience sees the subject and action in the image. So, um, imagine a photograph of a child reaching out to catch a butterfly in a garden. So, in this picture example, the audience positioning, the image is taken from a low angle, close to the child's eye level, with the butterfly in sharp focus just above the child's outstretched hand. Effect on audience. So this positioning invites the audience to see the scene from the child's perspective, emphasizing the wonder and excitement of the movement. The audience sees the subject, which is the child, as curious and engaged, and the action, reaching for the butterfly, as delicate and hopeful. In this way, the photographer chooses the audience's viewpoint to shape how the subject and action are perceived emotionally and visually. The third semiotic mode is composition and structure of image. How is the image organized to create a cohesive, coherent whole? So first is the salience, is how the viewer's eye is drawn to what is important in the image. So for example, imagine a photograph of a busy city street where a single red umbrella stands out. So in this example picture, students learn how texts are structured to achieve particular purposes, and that visual design choices are used to create texts that are logical, cohesive, and coherent with varying levels of complexity. An aspect of an image can be highlighted by placement in the foreground, size of the object, and contrast in tone or color. So from this example, the placement in the foreground, the red umbrella is positioned prominently in the foreground, making it the first thing the viewer notices. The size of the object. The umbrella is relatively compared to other elements in the image, emphasizing its importance. Contrast in tone or color. So the umbrella's bright red color contrasts sharply with the mostly gray and muted tones of the surrounding buildings and people. Together, these elements highlight the red umbrella as the focal point of the image, drawing the audience's attention immediately to it. Is viewing or reading path. Reading paths are how the eye is drawn to something in the image first, and then vectors lead the viewer from this object to the image from point to point. Identify the vectors in this image. Where are these vectors directing your gaze? Do these vectors direct your gaze towards a particular viewing or reading path in the image? Along a horizontal line, we can be directed to view from left to right or from right to left. For example, our eye is first drawn to the large moon in the top left-hand quadrant and is then led down to the first character on the left. This character points the viewer to read to the right across the image. However, at the end of this horizontal vector, the largest and final character on the right is facing back to the left. This points the viewer back to the left again, focusing our attention on the smallest character in the middle. Each of the characters on the left and the right of this character are directing us to this point. For the application, I have here prepared activity for you. This activity is analyzing a photo story. So preparation, select a series of related images. So for example, a photo story or comic strip that tells a simple narrative. Then a viewing task. Students observe the images carefully. They take note key details such as characters, setting, actions, and emotion. Encourage students to identify the viewing or reading path, how their eyes move through the images, and what draws their attention first. In conclusion, emphasizing the importance of multimodal literacy in enhancing overall literacy skills and preparing students for effective communication in a visually rich world. We must create a learning environment conducive to in-depth thought, provocative discussions, and lasting understandings. We need to give students time, the time to think, time to talk, time to ask their questions, and believe that students have far more thinking to share and explore.